Violet Evergarden, more like violently I just sharded. Hey cummies, I'm back to talk about the greatest main character in series ever crafted by Sapionic Sentience.
Violet Evergarden.
If you've watched my previous video on Violet Evergarden, you'll know I'm the biggest fan of all time. I'd do for this show what Gatorade did for the color pea pissy yellow. I'd go to hardcore warfare for this show. I'd do violent and abrasively non-sexual things to maintain the dignity and honor of this show's lasting message. I will fight tooth and nail for the show like Parmenio fought for Alexander the Great. I will shed blood for this show. Do you hear me? If you don't like this show, I can already feel your warm and stinking blood all over my hands. Remember what they did to Hexus in Ferngully? That's what I do. Right hand to God and the state. That's what I do to anybody that doesn't agree with my opinion on this show. So yeah, the show was pretty mid, and you might be wondering, Milk, if you thought the show was so poopy bungus, why did you watch both movies? Just to hate? Are you that much of a fucking loser, waste of life anus guzzler that you have nothing else to do with your time? To which I respond, well, my good friend, yeah, but there's more to it. I felt that a lot of the complaints I brought up in my first video might be dispelled or mitigated due to the greater flexibility offered by a movie's runtime. Again, it is hard to flesh out new characters and give your existing characters dimension when you're restricted to 20 minutes. It's easier to make a happy ending or satisfying wrap-up convincing with an hour or two. Not saying these feats are impossible because they made it happen in episode 10 of the original series, but I did feel that with a longer runtime, the Violet Evergarden format could do a better job in telling an emotional and introspective narrative. And the verdict?
It's very ass.
No, I'm kidding. They're a mixed bag, but overall, I'd say that both of these movies are enjoyable. For fans of the original show, they throw in callbacks to characters we've seen in the series, so it feels like a more complete world. More importantly, I felt that the movies fixed a lot of the problems I had with the original series. The main cast of characters, for one, gets a much-needed buff to survive in the current Evergarden meta. Erica started out as the useless, shy, useless, insecure, and useless nerd girl archetype, but through the movies you saw in small elements how she pursues her goal of being a writer, and in the last movie, she dropped her own play. It's not just in the concrete fact that she pursued her goals, but it's in the detail of how she carries herself. You can see that she's grown. She's not just more confident, you can see that she is truly proud of her work, something we never saw when she was working with Violet. She takes up less than 2 minutes of the movie, but these small details show a realistic and likable development. Big boy Benedict. I fuck with Benedict. As a matter of fact, I'd fuck Benedict. In the original series, he's a tsundere character who was never taken seriously. In these movies, my man is skilled, my man is a professional, and he believes in his work, a character trait that he was wholly lacking. He shows emotional maturity. Whereas before he was just ridiculed for being alive, we see a new side to his and Hodgins' dynamic where he prevents Hodgins from acting too rashly. He's not just a pretty little power bottom, he's a cute, mid-sized verse. Colonel Hodgins, from daddy to dad, we see that he is protective of Violet, and it makes sense. He's seen her grow emotionally. He's seen her struggle with the same past he struggles with. He recognizes that she is still a child that needs to find her own path to happiness. He can be cringe, but sometimes that's just how dads are. And Iris, she's fucking useless. Oh my god, you could not write her to be more useless. You know, at least she got the glow up. They did you better than they did Gaara, so count your blessings, you silly little critter. Even this guy, Major Gilhole's brother, Captain Diet Fried, sees some development. When he's first introduced in the series, he's just a slimy, scummy piece of yuck who might have been on Epstein's Island if he were a real person. Now we see he's trying to become a better person. Once repulsed by Violet, now he grows with her in their shared guilt over Major Gilgamesh's supposed death. But yeah, shut the fuck up for a second, no one cares about the extras. Bring out the main course, the grand slam, pray my gun don't jam, the coup de grace, the poop de ass, Violet herself. What's interesting is that she's probably the best part of the first movie while being the worst part of the second. And this got me thinking, what is it about Violet herself that makes these movies so good or so stinky? What is her role? Is she a leader or a follower? Dick or swallower? and I think I've got it down. I personally like it better when Violet is a secondary character that helps to push along the narrative, as opposed to being in the center. I liked Violet a lot in Eternity and the Auto Memoir doll. She was funny and she was fucking cool. I liked the scenes where she was just elite, just an absolute beast. Like, literally, the whole first act was just her radiating dominant pheromones to her pitiful contemporaries.
I dominate them.
But that's only part of the point I'm trying to make. Surface level, she was enjoyable to watch. But at her core, you can see that she has developed as a character. You can see that the trauma and love for Gilbert that she held like a burden throughout the main series no longer weighs her down. She has found enjoyment in life and fulfillment in her work, in helping people express themselves and learning how people communicate their feelings. Violet provides a sense of stability and honesty that allows the characters around her to develop, to question themselves, and to grow. I like that format a lot. I like how honest Violet is and how she cares about her clients. I like that her clients in these movies are going through some legitimate conflicts in a believable way. Isabella and Taylor, Eurus. These plot lines did a lot for me. I rooted for Taylor and Amy every step of the way, and Eurus broke my heart. But what happens when Violet is the main focus? When she is the clear-cut protagonist that needs to have a conflict and develop? I'm not saying it can't be executed well, but in this instance, in this second movie, Violet Evergarden, the movie, it went to shit. Violet devolved. She skipped right past Erectus and Australopithecus and reverted back to single-cell organism in terms of character development, and that made me squeal and cry like a succulent piece of alive pork just tied to a burning steak, because that is just a slap in the face of all the development she went through prior to this movie. I am not saying that her lasting trauma is not believable. She's been working as a doll for years now. She's pretty much reached the peak of her craft and heard every sob story under the sun. No matter how much you love your job when you start out, I imagine that after a couple of years, it loses that same spark. And when you see the tides changing around you, and you see your contemporaries finding new success, you can start to question yourself and what your original passions and motivations were. I don't have a problem with Violet being hung up over Gilbert, the memory. I have a problem with Violet being hung up over Gilbert, the living pathetic man-child, because remember how dominant, just absolutely viciously dominant Violet was in her prime? Remember how she was just drowning in the sauce just a few years prior? Now she's just drowning. I know the Bible says, "Do not judge, lest ye be judged," but my God, Violet and Gilbert are absolutely pathetic in this movie. The pure concentration of simpery that Violet exhibits is actually insulting.
Did I just catch you sipping?
She went from God to Twitch mod, and in all seriousness, it is really disappointing that the story decided to go this route. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt, and let me be a teeny bit more lenient, okay? This man Gilbert is like a father figure. He taught her everything she knows. He gave her the opportunity for a better life. She feels she owes everything to him. Fair. You thought he was dead for years, but now you find out he's alive and well. Of course you would like to reconnect and have him be a part of your life again. Okay. Why the fuck is Gilbert so whack? Remember when I said the movies fleshed out the main cast of characters? Well, I was half lying. Because I'm a manipulative and compulsive liar, and also because Gilbert is still so boring. Fuck you, Gilbert. He's just as bland and pitiful as he was in the original series. Yeah, I see that he is entrenched in his guilt, surrounded by remnants of the war, acting to bring him further into his self-loathing. The one aspect where we gain more insight into Gilbert is through his brother, Diet Fried. Gilbert became a soldier to honor his family name and because it was expected of him. It really seems like Gilbert has no personal motivation. Gilbert didn't want to be in the military. He did it because it was expected of him by his father. Gilbert holds himself back from seeing Violet because he feels it's his responsibility to protect her from him. Gilbert only runs to see Violet after his brother tells him that he'll honor the family name. Gilbert holds himself back so much, and yeah, that's realistic. I get it. A lot of times people act in the way they feel they are expected to, or do things because they feel responsible. But if that's his only personality trait, it makes me think that the only reason he cared about Violet was because he felt bad about her situation. That's not an equal relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic. That's pity. That shit isn't cute, it's insulting. And if that's the relationship that Violet is begging for, then what the fuck has she been doing all this time? Look, I think they're solid movies and I definitely enjoyed them. There's a lot more to like and it does fill in a lot of the gaps that the original series was missing. Even despite Violet and Gilbert totally crushing my sick vibes, I would say the other storylines make these worth watching. If you disagree with me, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm moving on, Violet. I've got bigger croutons to poop on.